energy. It's all around us. The only problem is that most of the time you can't see the energy that's around you. You can see its effects, and you can often feel its effects. Now, by now you've had the energy discovery lesson where you looked at many different types of energy transfers and transformations. And those words are words that you've heard before in grade 6, and we're going to be learning a lot more about them now in grade 8. The very first thing you have to understand is that energy is the ability for us to do work. Now, this is a word that confused me an awful lot when I was younger. Work is what happens when we apply force to an object. And in order to apply force to anything, you actually have to have energy to apply that force. Now, when you do apply force to an object, you do work on it if you move that object or if you change its shape, which essentially means you've changed the position of the atoms in that object. Okay? So that's what work is. Now, as you saw in the discovery lesson, there were two basic types of energy that we saw. There was energy that hadn't been used up yet and energy that was being used up, and we call them potential and kinetic energy. And as kinetic energy is in motion, we are actually either moving an object or changing its shape. In other words, we're applying the force. So to sum up what's actually happening, as work happens, that means an object's shape or position is being changed. You have energy, and it could be potential or kinetic, you'll understand this better later, is transformed into another type of kinetic energy, or you can have one type of kinetic energy being transferred from one object to another. And as they transfer or transform, they do work on the object. They change its shape or they change its position. Some examples of this are, for transforming, if you've got an object up really high, it's got lots of gravitational potential energy. And as it drops, that gravitational potential energy is transformed as the object speeds up into motion energy. Okay, it's a type of kinetic energy. Another way of thinking of transferred is this. If you hit an object, you're transferring your kinetic motion energy from your arm into that object, and it will then move because the motion energy has been transferred from you to that object. So that's a way of thinking of both transforming and transferring. So to sum it up, there are two basic types of energy. Potential energy is where energy is stored but we haven't used it yet, and this could be because of where an object is placed. Say it's high up on a hill and could be rolled down, so it's subject to gravity. That gives it potential to fall. Or it could be because of the chemical atoms that are inside it. It could have the potential to explode. That's chemical potential energy. Or you do have kinetic energy, which is energy that's actually in action right now, and we see that when the object either moves or spins or vibrates or changes shape. Now, here's a basic summary of the major types of energy that you are going to be exposed to in this grade 8 science project. Now, one of the things you're going to have to do is be able to figure out which one is kinetic and which one is potential energy. So I'm going to get you to give it a go at going through each one of these. You need to pause the video and see if you can figure out what type of energy it falls into, whether it's potential or kinetic. And in a moment, we're going to go through the answers. So pause your video now. Okay, let's see if we can have a go here and see what you got. Firstly, motion is kinetic energy. Gravity is potential energy. Chemical fuels are potential energy. Light is a type of kinetic energy because it moves. So is heat, because although you don't realize it, heat is actually the atoms in an object vibrating to match a certain temperature. They're actually moving, but you can't see them. We also call heat thermal energy. Magnetic energy is potential energy because it has the potential to pull objects and atoms around it. Sound is actually moving. Okay, this is moving particles that'll cause vibrations that our eardrums pick up. So it's a kinetic energy. Electrical energy is also kinetic because this is actually subatomic particles moving through substances that they can be conducted through, like metal. Nuclear fuel is potential energy because it has the potential to be released, but it hasn't been yet. And finally, elastic is actually potential energy. As you stretch the objects out, if they're elastic objects, they have bonds in them that are trying to come back together, and as soon as you release them, whack, they move closer together again. So elastic is potential energy. So here is a summary of all that I just said, and you're going to copy that down into the table that's on your Google Notes.